Some opportunities don't come twice, but it's not always because people weren't good enough that they missed them. Some came very close, yet couldn't bring themselves to believe they were worthy. Some think they're just observing, but in truth, they're quietly pulling away. And then there are people like Scorpio who once touched something wonderful only to let it go with their own hands just because they couldn't find a place safe enough to hold on to it. In astrology, Scorpio is the only zodiac sign that symbolizes rebirth, a journey from darkness back into light. They live deeply, love deeply, feel so intensely that even they sometimes can't bear the weight of their own emotions, and because they feel too deeply, they're quick to doubt what is good, quick to walk away from things others would gladly hold on to, simply because they believe this too will disappear. In 2025, Pluto, Scorpio's ruling planet, officially enters a new 20-year cycle. This is no longer a time to live in defense mode. It's a time to live for transformation, to move forward, and to reclaim the things you once let go out of fear. But before change can happen, we must first understand what we've been losing and why. 1. Needing absolute certainty before taking action. Scorpios are never impulsive. They don't make decisions based on feelings in the moment. They need certainty. They need to calculate the risks. They need to control even the things that haven't happened yet. It's not because they're slow. It's because they once gave their trust wholeheartedly and lost something far too important. And this isn't just a personality trait. It's the result of a deeply rooted energetic structure. Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, the planet of death, control, and inner transformation. They are born with a powerful survival instinct. If I don't control it, I'll be hurt. If I'm not sure, I'll be swept away. Pluto doesn't offer energy gently. It teaches through pain and demands that you rise again from your losses. Most Scorpios have lost something they thought would never be taken away. A person, a dream, a belief. And from that experience, they've developed an intricate defense system. Wait until everything is clear, then move forward. But the truth is, opportunity is never clear. It comes when you're still afraid, and it leaves while you're still asking for just a little more time. There was once a Scorpio woman who was offered her dream job, a position that matched her abilities in a healthy environment with a salary more than twice what she's ever earned before. But because it all seemed too easy, she asked for a few more days to think it over. While she was weighing the risks, the offer went to someone else, someone less qualified, but quick enough to say, "I'll take it." She didn't blame anyone afterward. She only asked herself, why do I always need to be sure before I take a step forward? In love, this becomes even clearer. There was once a Scorpio man who truly loved someone, but instead of saying it, he stayed silent. He waited for a definite sign that he was loved in return. While he stepped back, waiting for confirmation, the other person assumed he wasn't serious and walked away. Later he said just one thing, "I knew I was in love. I just didn't know if I was loved back, and I waited too long." In 2025, Pluto officially enters a new 20-year cycle. This is no longer a time to live in defense mode. This is a time to step forward, even if you're still afraid. Because if you keep waiting until you're sure, the most painful thing might not be losing the opportunity. It might be not realizing when you lost yourself along the way. 2. Doubting yourself more than you doubt others. Here's something few people realize. Scorpios don't just distrust the world, they doubt themselves more than anyone else. On the outside, they may seem composed, sharp, and quiet, but inside, there's a never-ending stream of questions. Am I good enough? Did I go too far? Are people judging me without me even realizing it? Astrology explains this very clearly. Scorpio is a water sign, the element of deep emotion and powerful emotional memory. But they also belong to the fixed modality, which means they tend to hold on to negative feelings from the past. Pluto, their ruling planet, is constantly excavating the psyche, keeping Scorpios in a state of perpetual self-reflection. But when you reflect for too long without release, it turns into self-doubt. Many Scorpios possess real strength and talent, yet they hesitate to step into higher roles simply because they think, maybe I'm still not enough. Some turn down love from someone genuinely kind just because they believe, they'll eventually realize I'm not worthy. They limit themselves, then wear a cold exterior to hide the feeling that it's not safe to be chosen. There was once a Scorpio woman who was nominated by her boss to become a manager, but she turned it down, not because she didn't want it, but because she thought, I'm too strict, I'm not a good communicator, maybe I'm not fit to lead anyone. The position went to someone else, someone less experienced but confident enough to say yes, and by the time she realized what had happened, it was already too late. Scorpio doesn't need to become a perfect hero to be chosen, but they do need to stop digging so deeply into their fears. In 2025, as Pluto shifts into an air sign, the journey of transformation will no longer happen solely within. It will be the time to step outward and begin to see yourself through someone else's eyes, as a person with ability, with strength, with depth, and worthy of far more than you've ever allowed yourself to believe. 3. Fear of emotional pain greater than fear of failure. Most people are afraid of failure, but for Scorpio, there's a fear even greater, the fear of emotional pain. They can fail at work, lose money, miss out on opportunities, and still manage to get back up. But if their trust is betrayed, if they're emotionally wounded or made to feel disregarded, it can take them years to recover, not because they are weak, but because they love and trust with their whole being, and when that's rejected, it feels like a part of their soul has been exposed that was never meant to be seen. Pluto makes Scorpio live in emotional depth more than any other sign, and because of that they often feel naked in real relationships, more exposed than others. Even if they seem cold, they're the ones most afraid of being truly seen, especially when their feelings are real. And once a Scorpio heart has been deeply hurt, they stop fearing missed opportunities. What they fear instead is trusting the wrong person one more time and losing themselves again. There was once a Scorpio who had the chance to love someone truly genuine. That person opened their heart, waited, and wanted to build something real, but Scorpio didn't respond. They didn't reject it, but they didn't move toward it either. They kept their distance, smiled, and said, I'm not sure I'm ready. The other person walked away after months of waiting in silence. That wasn't a breakup, it was a lost chance at love, simply because Scorpio couldn't overcome the fear of being hurt again. In 2025, Pluto will shift into the realm of social connection. This means you can no longer heal by hiding. A heart that's been hurt doesn't have to rush to trust again. But it also shouldn't be locked away forever just because one person got it wrong. Scorpios don't need anyone else to rescue them, but if you never let anyone in, you'll never see for yourself that not everyone is here to hurt you again. 4. Doing it alone, enduring it alone, but success needs companionship. Scorpio excels at being independent. They rarely share, tend to avoid relying on others, and especially hate letting anyone see their weaknesses. If something happens, they handle it quietly. If they fail, they endure it in silence. And because of that, they often miss out on big opportunities, not for lack of talent, but because they don't reach out for help at the right moment. Astrology shows this clearly. Scorpio is a fixed water sign, deeply resilient, yet prone to emotional closure. On top of that, their ruling planet Pluto gives them a tendency to keep secrets to protect power. They believe that the fewer people know what they're doing or where they're vulnerable, the safer they are. But in work and in community, no one succeeds alone, and no one can truly see your value if you're hiding yourself too well. There was once a Scorpio man who launched a startup based on a brilliant idea. Instead of finding a partner, he did everything himself: planning, design, fundraising, and even marketing. He worked day and night, burned himself out, and slowly lost his passion. When friends asked, he simply said, "I'm fine." By the time the project collapsed, he finally realized what he lacked wasn't skill. It was someone who believed in it and walked with him from the start. In 2025, Pluto will shift its focus towards social and communal connection. This is the time to learn a truth you've long avoided. Sharing doesn't make you weaker, it gives others a chance to step closer. If you keep doing everything alone, you may burn out without anyone noticing. But if you dare to open even part of the door, you'll see that you're not as alone as you once believed. 5. Holding on to old emotions for too long. Missing new opportunities. Scorpios don't forget easily. They don't forget those who hurt them. They don't forget what they once missed out on. And they certainly don't forget the feeling of heartbreak, even if it happened years ago. They may keep working, keep smiling, keep moving forward, but deep inside, those old memories still play quietly in the background, like a soundtrack they can't turn off. Pluto's Scorpio's ruling planet governs deep memories and unresolved pain. And as this energy weaves through the journey of growing up, it doesn't leave visible scars. It simply makes Scorpios more cautious than usual, less trusting than most, and more likely to reject something good just because it reminds them of something that once caused them pain. There was once a Scorpio woman who was deceived by a business partner in what she believed was the career opportunity of a lifetime. After that, she rejected every offer of collaboration. Everything she did afterward was small, safe, and never pushed beyond average success. When people asked why she didn't try again, she simply smiled and said, "I don't want to relearn an old lesson." But the truth is, old lessons don't ask to be repeated if you're willing to write a new chapter with a more mature perspective. The year 2025 marks a new chapter, one where you can no longer live trapped in memory. If you keep every door locked, you won't notice the ones that are already open. Look closely. Is there an opportunity right in front of you that you're turning away from, simply because it resembles something that once hurt you? Pluto won't erase your past, but it will create moments for you to face it, see it clearly, and stop letting it drive the direction of your future. 6. Not believing in luck, missing unexpected opportunities. Scorpio isn't the type to believe that good things simply come on their own. They believe in strategy, in control, and in the rule. Know first, secure it, then act. To them, luck is a vague and unsafe concept because believing in luck means leaving part of the outcome to things that can't be predicted. And for Scorpio, the unpredictable is always synonymous with risk. Pluto makes them live in cycles: analyze, prepare, act, protect. They'll work twice as hard as others just to make sure they don't owe anyone an emotional debt. But the paradox is, some of life's biggest opportunities don't arrive because you're well prepared. They arrive not because you're fully prepared, but because you dared to say yes, even when you had no idea where it might lead. There was once a Scorpio who was invited by a stranger to join an investment project. After just a brief conversation, that project later succeeded, but not with her. She declined almost immediately, simply because the other person seemed too enthusiastic and the whole thing felt too unrealistic. She wasn't wrong, but someone else said yes, and it was that very uncertainty that led them to something she had once dreamed of. What she regretted most wasn't losing the project. It was losing the chance to believe that she too could be chosen unexpectedly. In 2025, as Pluto leaves the realm of shadow and steps into the field of connection, you'll encounter many opportunities that don't look like part of the plan. Don't dismiss them just because you don't see a clear roadmap. Not everything unclear is a trap. Sometimes that's just how the universe calls your name, and you turn it down simply because it comes too fast and doesn't look like the kind of success you were expecting. You might think that these traits are simply part of who you are, that Scorpios have always been this way: cautious, skeptical, inwardly focused, afraid of getting hurt, better at defending than opening up. But the truth is, personality is not destiny. It's just a set of reflexes formed from everything you've been through. And Pluto, your ruling planet, was never here just to keep you stuck in a cycle of self-protection. In 2025, Pluto begins a brand new cycle after nearly 250 years. And you, as a Scorpio standing at the threshold of transformation, can choose to keep repeating the same old loop or dare to do something you've never done before and step into a completely new direction. And if you can do that, gently, starting with one small but decisive change, you won't just see your life get better. You'll begin to see clearly. Prosperity comes more easily. Opportunities begin to find you instead of you chasing them. And health, love, balance, each one will return, one by one, to the exact place they've always longed to belong. But that only happens when you stop repeating your old patterns and open the path for a stronger version of yourself to rise. You may have believed you knew yourself well, that your silence was a sign of strength, that your caution was wisdom, that doing things alone, enduring things alone, was proof of inner power. But maybe you've never stopped to ask, do these things actually help you get what you want? Because if they truly worked, you wouldn't still feel regret over missed chances. You wouldn't keep repeating the same reflex even when standing in front of completely new opportunities. You wouldn't still feel safe and yet somehow still lack something. In 2025, you don't need to change who you are, but you do need to change how you see yourself. The traits you once considered strengths, if used at the wrong time, can quietly become barriers. And the things you've been calling personality are often just old choices, repeated so many times that you've mistaken them for your nature. If you begin to shift even one small reaction, to trust sooner, to let go more gently, to speak at the right moment, you won't just change a behavior, you'll be turning the axis of your entire energetic field. And then, everything else will begin to return. Opportunity, abundance, love, health, peace. Not because you forced them, but because you've become soft enough to receive, steady enough to hold, and willing enough to step out from the shadow you once thought you had to live inside. If you saw yourself in any part of this video, leave a comment below. It doesn't have to be long, just be honest. Who knows, someone out there may be living exactly like you, and they might read your words, and maybe they won't feel so alone anymore. And if you want to keep going on this journey, we're creating a special series, The Hidden Zodiac of 2025. Not to predict, but to help you see yourself more deeply through the lens of applied astrology. To gradually adjust your choices, emotions, and actions in alignment with the energy axis of the coming year. Hit subscribe if you feel this is a journey you want to walk with us. We'd love to welcome you, not as a viewer, but as someone truly ready to shift at the right time, in the right way, and in alignment with the most authentic version of who you are.